Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Retro Gaming Dads podcast. As this is our first official episode, I thought it'd be customary to go around and introduce ourselves, and maybe we can talk about what our first gaming experiences were, or our first console series that we like and been brought up with. So, first of all, my name's Barry.
I'm Phil.
My name's Anthony.
And together, we are three guys hurtling towards middle age at increasingly greater speeds each year, it seems, and still play video games. So, first of all, we'll start with you, Anthony. So, what was it that got you into gaming?
Oh, going to gaming. It was actually my dad. So I think, mainly Pokemon. Pokemon's come out, and the first Pokemon game was coming out as well. So I got Pokemon Blue, and I remember getting a Game Boy Color. This is also my first console. Shows you how young I am. And I remember actually standing, looking out the window, waiting for this to be delivered. And then the same year, I think, we also got the PlayStation with Colin McRae Rally, and they're kind of like the third things that I got introduced to and got to playing. And then from there, I mean, I'm still hooked on Pokemon, if I'm honest, which is a bit sad, but it's just me.
Well, both of those series
so-
are continuing today. You've obviously got Pokemon, but the Dirt series is continuation of Colin McRae that started on the
Really?
original PlayStation.
Yeah, and that did get me into my racing as well, because I still, with you two, we've all played the most recent Forza Motorsport as well, haven't we, on the Xbox? And it's someone I could easily dip into, and I do enjoy a good racing game as well.
Well, Colin McRae was it Colin McRae or V Rally, Phil, that we used to play and chuck our own CDs into the PlayStation to play our own music during races?
I think it was V Rally, if I remember rightly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember coming round yours, playing a bit of V Rally then, while you put in your Spice Girls album, listen to some banging tunes as we're racing around, drifting around corners, going the wrong way up the track, as you do as children.
Fellas Spice Girls, why does that not surprise me?
So, were these the sort of experiences that you had then, Anthony?
Yes,
Maybe.
very much.
Oh, so you also listen to Spice Girls as well?
Oh, yeah, I'm growing up. I've definitely, you'll be my lover always. But alongside that, also Spyro was another one that I played quite a lot. I know this
You
one
called
that
it,
you
Phil.
two haven't
We
really
knew
touched on.
he'd talk about Spyro at some point.
I can't resist. I do love the little purple dragon. I've even got the remastered copy for the Xbox because of how much I enjoyed it. I do remember back then wanting to throw my controller through the TV screen a few times.
Sorry, did you just say
now.
you threw your controller through the TV screen?
Wanted to.
Oh, right.
No, I never actually.
I was
did
going
it.
to say in the 90s, those TV screens, throwing a controller at them ain't going to do anything.
No, I do remember, going upstairs and playing. I remember me and my brother playing it like middle of the night, wanting to go on it, so quickly turn TV on. I remember my dad walking in, being like, "2 o'clock in the morning, what are you to do?" Like, crap, go to bed. But no, that was me. So it's Colin McRae, Spyro, and Pokemon were my sort of original things I really got into, which is then sort of gave me my love for gaming.
So you probably got into gaming like 98 then? Is that about right? Because I
Yeah.
think that's when Pokemon came out in the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Around about 98 is when I got into it.
Right. And go on, Phil, what was your first experience to video games?
The Amiga. I mean, my uncle was still is, an avid Amiga collector and player. May have copied a few of his games over the years.
Which I then proceeded to copy from you as the vicious cycle continues.
Good copy. But yeah, it was a game called Midnight Resistance, which was a side-scrolling shooter set with a bit of a weird setting, set with an alien invading force and giant brains. It was a bit weird, but it was old school gaming. That Shadow of the Beast, brilliant music. Again, weird game.
Brilliant music, god awful game design though.
Yeah, it really was.
Any game where when you start, your instinct is run right, go right to win. Shadow of the Beast, no, go left.
You even faced right when you started, if I remember. You had to turn
Yes, you
backwards.
did. No, you did.
What happened to run right?
Just increasingly harder enemies, and I think you may get to a point where you can't progress because you haven't got a certain item, like a key, maybe,
Yeah, well, that's the
which
thing.
you need to get from the dungeon that you get from going left. But as Phil says, it starts the game with you facing right. There's no indication saying go left.
It's also, I'd say, it's more of a puzzle game than it is a platformer or a side scroller, because you have to do everything particularly right. And if you don't get the right item at the right point, you can't progress. It, it was it wasn't a good game. Brilliant music though. Brilliant
Oh
music.
yeah, for the time, I believe the music was sampled in a few singles as well, if I
Really?
remember right. I think so. I definitely could be wrong on that though.
No, as you two pointed out, and I agree, side scrollers, whenever you're spawning, you're always facing right, and your instincts always go right. So why would they mess with your
Because
basically mess with your head?
that
I don't
game
know,
was
but
just messing with your head.
later games have similar sort of layout. So, for example, fantastic game Symphony and Knight.
Brilliant game.
That's a lot more free flowing than Shadow of the Beast was. But even Symphony and Knight knew start you facing right, you run right into Dracula's castle, then you decide where you want to go from there.
I mean,
Shadow of the Beast didn't it? It just plunked you right in the middle of loads of enemies in a field and went, there you go.
in fairness,
Good luck.
wasn't it made by literally one person?
I have no idea. A lot of early games like that, though, were
It
they're
was
not like teams nowadays.
no,
They were very small teams, maybe like a coder and an artist.
or in the sake of
Uh,
extreme violence, why bother with an artist?
yeah. Oh, another fantastic Amiga game, Extreme Violence. Playing that
Uh,
as a child just to see what at the time we thought was over the top gore. Nowadays, just looks like someone used the red spray can
Yep.
tool on MS Paint.
Still a brilliantly addictive game though.
Oh yeah, we played this. When was it? About a year or two ago.
With this current timeline, who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
it definitely feels a lot longer. Than that.
Was I here when we played this? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I actually think you might have watched us play it.
And then got really confused as to why we were really enjoying this really terrible looking game.
It's a game. Yeah, it looks awful. Top down shooter. One hit you're dead,
Can
and
only
it's
be
it
played by two people.
first to yeah. It can only
Oh,
be
is this
played
the
by
one where
two people.
it's just the one where got the grey background and you're just literally sprint around and you can have like bouncing bullets and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's the
it.
one. Yeah,
Oh,
it's not just
okay,
grey
that one
background. It's
is
grey
absolutely
foreground,
wacky.
grey scenery. The only better color is in the characters and the blood.
Yeah.
Brilliant game though.
Wait, and you used to think that was over the top violence?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Bear in mind, this is before even the original Mortal Kombat came out.
Oh god, we played that a bit too much as well.
Well, that took violence to a new level.
Well, the first console though would be the Mega Drive that my brother got, and the same year I got a Game Boy. Which I say I got a Game Boy. More my dad got a Game Boy with the amount he played Tetris on the thing. Even to this day, he's still playing Tetris, most notably on one of Barry's old Game Boys.
Oh, does he still actually have one of my old Game Boys?
Possibly? I don't know.
For those that don't know and likely won't know, Phil's dad has a habit of, should we say, liberating other people's Game Boys to play Tetris.
Yeah, I mean, he's liberated at least 3 of mine.
Well, yeah, I believe he took 2 of mine. I think he took my Game Boy Advance and my Game Boy Advance SP.
Possibly. Though the original cartridge of Tetris is still going strong.
Wow, I'm surprised.
The Mega Drive, though, many classic games on that one. Probably though, and this will be controversial, especially to Barry, who I know is going to find this insulting even. Cyborg Justice was probably my favourite game on the Mega Drive.
Cyborg Justice, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that game, but it has not aged well. It
God,
is very, very clunky.
It has not aged at all.
My first experience of that game was renting it from a Top Cat rental store. I paid £3, got that and R-Type for the Master System, and got to rent them for 3 days.
See, me and my dad used to go to Sunday car boot sales and look at games. And I remember Cyborg Justice was one of the games I got from me and my dad's Sunday outings.
Well, I always remember the guy turning up. Was it Monday evenings?
Something like that,
You
yeah.
turn up with a boot full of Mega Drive games, and you pay what was it like £5 to rent it for the week?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm sure that was a completely legitimate business venture that he was.
Oh, totally. Totally.
So nowadays, you see your car rock up, open your boot, say, "Do you want to buy a game?" Oh, the neck. Can you imagine what might happen with that one?
Yeah, imagine that now. Someone drives up in their estate car and goes, "Hey, kids, come over here."
I just don't think that'd work in this day and age either. You get the game, you install
Somehow,
it.
I don't think so.
The license has already been used, so you can't even install it.
In all fairness, Phil, if anything dubious was like that was going to happen when we were kids, we were ugly kids. We were fine.
I mean, we did play computer games. Let's be fair.
So,
Retro
yeah,
wasn't
well,
cool
me
then.
too.
No. Well, retro wasn't even retro
Well,
then.
you know what I mean.
Going back to some of these games, obviously, game that you love playing there, Phil. I think, I know I've played a few retro games with you guys when I've seen you. I think you guys need to show me some more of them as well. I've tried to play them, but some of them.
One idea I was thinking is,
A retro club.
why don't we start our own book club? But instead of, boring old books, the linear narrative, how about we choose a retro game, we spend the month playing through the game, and then we can discuss it at the end of the month. That might be an idea for the future.
Not bad.
Yeah, it might be no idea for future, but I feel like I might get my ass handed to me in these retro games.
There's no mind about it.
Don't worry. Some of the games we'll pick, they won't even have multiplayer.
That's what I mean. I'll still pick a lose.
Or it'll be that when you... I remember picking up some old like Master System and Mega Drive games, and you're like, "Oh, it's 2-player," and then you find out it's actually, "Oh yeah, player 1 plays, and then player 2 plays afterwards."
Barry, I know what we can start with.
Go on.
The Immortal.
No.
I'm intrigued as to why you say no now.
Right, going back to the man in a car that turns up with games in his boot. I once asked Phil, "Do you know what? I've got the Mega Drive. I only owned 2 games, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Rocket Knight Adventures. I got to the point where Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I could complete it with all of the emeralds using my feet. And Rocket Knight Adventure, I could complete the entire game without taking a single hit." I'd heard about this game, something called a role-playing game. It was Fancy Star 4. And I said to Phil, try and get that. See if he's got this Fancy Star 4 I keep seeing in the magazines. If not, something like it, a role-playing game. Anyway, the Monday turns up. I asked my parents, "Can I ring Phil? Can I see if he's got this game?" They're like, "Yes, but you have to wait till after 6, so we don't have to pay for it." So 6 o'clock comes around. I ring him up. "Phil, did you get it?" "No, but I got something better. The Immortal." I'm like, "The Immortal? Oh, this sounds amazing." Next day in school, he passes me it. Sat all day in school, just waiting for 3:30 to roll around. I get home, put it in my Mega Drive, turn it on. 10 seconds later, game over. I'm like, what is this? Try it again. 10 seconds later, game over. I'm like, oh my god, I'm taking 2 steps forward and falling down a hole and getting a game over. So anyway, get round the hole, go through the next one. Oh, there's an enemy. This is going to be epic. Game over. What's going on with this game? Anyway, short story, don't play the game. It's absolutely brutal. It's really clunky, and it is no fun, and it was a waste of a £5.
Well, in my defense, I said to the guy, "Do you have Fantasy Star?" To which he said, "No." So I then said, "Well, what have you got that's a good RPG that's like it?" And he said, "Oh, try this. It's brilliant."
So basically, he saw you coming and thought, "Oh my god, finally someone's going to rent this game."
Probably.
I'm going to rip him off. So my question is, though, whose £5 was it?
Barry's?
My £5.
Oh, that's okay then. So at least you didn't have to pay for it, Baz.
No, it was my £5. I paid for the rental. I asked him to get me
Phil.
a good game, and he got me that. And between that and the Sonic the Hedgehog hot chili sauce, which I will never forgive Phil.
I mean, we were what 7 at the time.
Yeah, definitely in primary school, maybe
Oh
year
yeah,
7
definitely
high
primary
school.
school.
So
Is
like,
this hot chili sauce a story for another time?
well, I went round. His dad made hot dogs. I thought, hot dogs. Phil goes, "Do you want some tomato sauce?" Yeah. Do you want some Sonic the Hedgehog tomato sauce?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh hell yeah, definitely. Anyway, I'm not a big fan of spicy foods. And
No, you're not at
it was
all.
chili sauce. And I was like, nope, you ruined it. He almost single handedly ruined not only hot dogs, but Sonic the Hedgehog for me in one evening.
Well, good thing that's not happened because seems as Sonic is your favourite game of all time.
Yes, but it was close. Things could have gone a different way. I might have been talking about Spyro, but no. So, sorry, who's we've got a bit off track.
So we're talking about the Mega Drive.
You know, Barry.
Was we talking about Anthony's first experience, or was
No,
this yours?
This was mine, which I think we're now onto yours.
Oh, we're on to mine. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some of the first gaming experiences I had was like you had your uncle, I had my auntie who had a couple of Amigas, various like all-in-one systems. And I always remember at Christmas, she'd bring down the same one. It was a Pong machine that had 10 games in one, and all 10 games were Pong. They just give them different titles. So game 1 was Pong, game 2 was tennis, game 3 was ice hockey, and then once you got to game 5, I think it just duplicated them, except instead of against the computer, it was against another player. And that was my first gaming experience, and I'll be honest, it was intriguing, nothing more. But then she started bringing down the Amiga 500, and I started playing games like The Karate Kid on it. And I always remember like the little bonus stage where you've got to catch the fly with the chopsticks and you have the little battles. And that got me more and more into gaming. Eventually, my parents got us Commodore 64. Had a few games on that. But it wasn't until I bought my first console, the Sega Master System, that I really started getting into games. So I saw this game, Sonic the Hedgehog. That looks pretty cool. You know, I want that. But I can't afford a Mega Drive. So I saved up my Christmas money, saved up my birthday money, and went to a pharmacy called Boots, who, oddly enough, sold video games and consoles. And I remember picking up a Sega Master System.
Boots used to sell.
Yeah,
What?
Pharmacies.
Yeah, Boots used to sell. Yeah.
Mine's been blown here. What? I'm so confused. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah. Boots used to sell video games. Well, you think that's bad? Yeah, for some reason, pharmacies at one point were one of like the places you went to get video games.
When you say Boots, is that as in Boots, as in like Boots is around now?
Yeah.
Boots. You know,
What?
the Boots where you go to get your meal deal and your paracetamol.
What?
This was before Electronic Boutique.
No, Electronic Boutiques actually existed around this time. No, it wasn't Electronic Boutique. I think it was Game Zone. What was it called?
Was it Game Zone? Oh yeah, it was Game Zone.
I think it was
Electronic Boutique.
Game Zone, Electronic Boutique, and then it went to Game.
Yeah,
Or
so
Game Station.
it's just my mind's been blown. I didn't realize
Yeah,
this was
well-
a thing.
So in the little village where I live, there's a tiny little pharmacy. It's like probably not much bigger than most people's living rooms.
Mm.
They used to sell Game Gear, Game Boy games
Wow.
in the store. So you could just go, while you're waiting for your prescription. I remember looking through and seeing all these Game Gear titles, Game Boy titles, and that seemed normal until, obviously looking back at it now, you're thinking, why were pharmacies the place that you went to buy games consoles and games?
The place where you get to stuff to cure your ailments, you could also buy consoles.
Yes. So, they'd have a selection of toys. I think they were seen more as toys rather than like their own distinct category like they are nowadays. So they'd have like, do you know one of those spinning racks that you usually have near the door?
Oh yeah.
And they'd have toys on. So it'd literally have like a cheap water pistol, an Etch a Sketch, some little Connect 4 ripoff, and then a Sega Game Gear. It was weird the way it was just bundled in with these cheap toys. But obviously, your games were like at the time probably about £30 each upwards.
Something like that.
So yeah, so it was a bit weird the way it's laid out. But I'm glad I've blown your mind about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Anyway, sorry, back to your console.
yeah, so I saved me money, went in, couldn't afford I think it was about £130 for a Sega Mega Drive at the time. However, they had the Sega Master System, which came with Sonic the Hedgehog and Alex Kidd for £40. So that's what I ended up using my money on. And as started a long trend with me, I bought it. They discontinued the damn thing. Which wasn't too bad. It was a few years later, but up until maybe the GameCube and the Xbox, I think I was always consistently at the trail end of a console's lifespan. When
I still blame you for the Dreamcast's failing.
yes, with the exception of the Dreamcast, I got in there early.
It was a long running joke for quite some time.
Oh
that
god, yeah,
consoles die when Barry buys it.
yeah.
It's true.
In all fairness, you've owned most consoles.
Not at this time. As I said earlier on, when Phil got me the Immortal, I only owned 2 games. One was the packing game with the console. One was a game I got maybe a year later. And I'd had the Mega Drive for a couple of years at this point. The PlayStation was out. I know that much. I didn't have very many games at all, which I think was the same for most people in those days.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have that many games, but we used to get a lot of cheap ones from as I was saying, from the car boots, so like £2-3 a pop, and we still didn't have that many.
I still remember getting all my games on Blockbusters. That's what I remember. There wasn't just Blockbusters. There was another place. I can't remember what it was called, but there's another similar sort of shop where you could rent them from. I can't remember the name at all, but I remember going there with my dad quite often and renting a PlayStation game, having that for a week, taking it back and playing it and returning it back. And that's what I remember the most, where I got my games from, mainly.
See, we had something similar. Again, we had like a little tiny Top Cat rental where you could go in and rent a few games as well as VHSs. I think that was a lot more normal at the time.
It was.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially most games where even your bigger games like you at the time, say like Sonic the Hedgehog, you can get through that game in an hour or so easy.
So you had those rare games like Shining Force where you could save on the cartridge.
Well, yeah, but even they weren't that common. Even later on, I believe the original Zelda on the NES was the first game with a battery backed up save. But even before that, like again, the original Mario Brothers, if you know what you're doing, you can get through that game pretty quick.
Well, you've got those people that do it in like 5 minutes, isn't there?
Oh yeah, the speed running. Some of them are absolutely insane watching them.
Because you were talking obviously about the was it the Sega Master System? And this is where I'm gonna have a go at me because I can't remember the console. But you talk about Sonic and it got discontinued.
Yeah, so well, that was the first console I got, the Sega Master System. I think that was about early 92 it must have been. That would have been my first games console. My first system that ran games was the Commodore 64, and that would have been about 1988, I believe. And I had a few games on them, but they were definitely more diversions. It wasn't the purpose of the console.
I remember coming around last year and you going to me, can you turn it on?
Yes. You couldn't even turn on and load a game on cassette tape.
In all fairness, you didn't even give me long enough to look properly.
I give you like 2 minutes, you couldn't find the on switch. But in terms of gaming memories, some of my favorite ones, again, going back to like the Mega Drive, so like I think they were the 4th generation of the consoles, was it? The Mega Drive?
I want to say so, yeah.
I remember borrowing games from friends, as you did, because you didn't have money, and playing Road Rash 2 with my dad.
Well, friends or games.
That was always good fun. My dad enjoyed playing racing games, and there was nothing better than being a 10-year-old kid playing Road Rash with your dad and kicking him into an oncoming car just as you cross the finish line. Especially if he's been in first place the entire race.
See, it would have been a slightly different. Obviously, that's similar sort of thing. I just remember my brother, who's 4 years older than me, getting really, really annoyed and actually going to my mum and saying, "Mum, tell Phil to stop
In all
beating me."
fairness, I have a similar story with Mortal Kombat on the Master System. Sorry, on the Mega Drive it was. Playing it with my brother, who's 5 years younger than me, and again at this point would have been about 6 years old, and I would have been about 10, 11. And all he done was got in the corner and just kept doing roundhouse kicks, and I could not get close to him. And he managed to beat me by just holding back and pressing kick, 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 kick. Nothing else, and managed to beat me because I just couldn't get close to him. So not full memory, not a full memory that one.
No, it doesn't sound it at all.
So it's a common thing then, younger brothers
Yeah.
beating older brothers in computer games.
Being cheap and optimizing the fun out of games.
To this day.
I can't think of a time where I've done that to my brother where I've annoyed him that much.
I can tell you a time that you've done it to me.
Oh,
Playing
really? What was
Bomberman
that?
and using the skill where you switch places with the other player and you'll plant a bomb next to yourself, trap yourself in the corner, then switch places with me.
Yeah, that kind of ruined Bomberman.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was playing Bomberman for nearly 3 decades up until I played it against you. And you just killed it.
I found a loophole and exploited it and killed you guys constantly. That's the aim of the
And
game,
you
isn't
say
it?
I optimize the fun out of games.
Whatever, Phil.
Yeah, but when we turned them off, you were moaning. Oh, I don't like this game anymore.
I was
It's
not
too
moaning.
hard.
I was not moaning. I
Yeah,
was still playing.
You was.
No issue.
You was.
But now I remember playing Pokemon, and everyone down my street had Game Boys and had Pokemon, and so I remember doing link trades and pulling the cable out during link trade to clone Pokemon.
Oh yeah, many a Caterpie were sacrificed to the
yeah.
great digital void in that.
And then also
fun days of us being the
remember,
cool kids in school playing on Pokemon in high school.
Yeah, you know when you're like top of the food chain at high school when you go, I've got a Mew. Do you want to dupe it?
We weren't top of the food chain, let's be honest.
Well,
going so nuts. Hey guys.
We were top of a very small niche food chain.
yeah.
Aren't we still in a niche food chain here, which gets us nowhere now?
Well, yeah, pretty much. Nothing's changed.
True.
No, not the slightest. I think this isn't really an older memory, but this is one of my favourite memories. And if my dad was there to hear this, he would, be rolling his eyes at me. But I remember playing the original Halo on the Xbox, and I remember he was sat in the bottom bunk of our bunk beds, and he ran on the corner and he ran into an elite. And he went, elite. As he did, he launched his head backwards and knotted the top bunk with the back of his head. And I remember watching that happen, and me and my brother just fell out the stitches. And that's one of my favourite memories of him playing the game, was the fact that he jumped out of his skin because he literally ran on the corner, it was in his face, he jumped and then head-butted the back of his head against the bed above him.
Ouch.
See, it's quite worrying that he says this story and he goes, oh, I remember when I was a child.
And then
This
plays
is-
Halo.
Really
And I'm thinking, oh yeah, Halo, yeah, I was only playing that like,
yeah.
20 years ago.
Well, I have fond memories of when we recently played Halo at that gaming convention.
Wait, it came out 20 years ago?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 2001, I want to say Halo came out.
Oh,
Sounds
10,
all right.
Jeez.
No. Halo 3 was 8, 9.
Halo 3? No, Halo 4 was 8 years ago.
No, I mean, as in 2008, 2009.
Oh, right, I thought you meant like a couple of years ago. Yeah, I think that was about 2007.
When we went to that convention and we're playing, I think it was Halo 2.
Yeah, they had quite a few. Was it maybe 16 original Xboxes? Or were the Xbox 360s?
Oh, the original Xboxes.
And they were all linked up. A game of Blood Gulch, every man for themselves. So we thought, we'll sit down, have a little play of Halo, for old time's sake. Anyway, half an hour passed. We're the top 2 scorers. And then we're running around shooting other players, racking up the kills, like by a considerable margin, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely was.
Until we hear this little 5-year-old kid or someone going, "Daddy, Daddy, the players keep killing me," and then we look around and realize, like, yeah, we're good, like 25 years older than every other player playing it at the time.
It's nice to be the top of our game at some point.
Yeah.
Halo's not a young kid's game. Come on, you're gonna play. You need to get used to dying.
You take no prisoners on that game. I used to own two original Xboxes, and what we'd do is me and Phil would be on one Xbox, and the second one would be in my brother's bedroom, linked together. We'd have a 2v4 usually, weren't it? My brother and 3 of his mates versus us 2. And again, we'd absolutely dominate. And I just enjoyed that. And like, you go, oh no, there's 4 of them. You like, pull out the Magnum, not a problem.
Yeah,
I just remember us two playing against each other where we'd almost synchronize our movements, shoot each other to the point where we needed to reload, run at each other, hit each other with a button, die.
Yeah, both kill each other at the same time.
I remember the same thing with you guys having LAN parties with, for my birthday. And it would be me and my older brother against, I think, we would hook up sort of 3 Xboxes, 4 Xboxes together. And, it would be, I think you could do 2v8, or it was like a free form. We were on the same team. But again, me and my brother would just we just wiped the floor with everyone. There was just no one could get anywhere near us. Even though they didn't play it that often, some people still played it, but yeah, we just absolutely demolished anyone.
Well, do you guys know that you can actually play Halo, the original Halo, in a LAN game with an original Xbox, an Xbox 360, an Xbox One, and an Xbox Series S or X?
Really?
Yes, me and you would talk about it the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, all connected together, and they'll still work.
So as we've that's really interesting. As we've been talking about a few different consoles, what would you say your favorite generation is?
Generation for me, I don't even have to think about it. It's the 5th generation. So that's the Sega Saturn, the PlayStation, and the Nintendo 64. That generation just seemed massive in the improvements it brought from the previous one, like the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. And I do think some of the best games and even series were born in that generation.
I don't know what the generation is, it's over my head, but for me, it was the original Xbox, because it was the original Xbox that sort of really took me into the first-person shooters and took me into that sort of genre. Halo, Unreal Tournament 3, I'd like to say. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but I remember there being Unreal Tournament. I remember playing the Quake on there, and I remember playing quite a few different games which really did take me into the first person. I did play a couple of PlayStation first-person shooters, but I think I was a bit young really to grip it properly. But it was the original Xbox that really took me into the first-person shooter, really took me into my biggest passion for gaming, I guess, because I wasn't playing the Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. I was playing the first-person shooters for the first time, sort of thing, properly for me.
I do think that generation, the 6th generation, I think that was when first-person shooters became viable on consoles.
Yeah,
well, Halo's going to defined it. A lot of people say it was Halo that really made the step for first-person shooters of the consoles. Before then, it was trying, and it was, it wasn't really refined and everything else. Whereas Halo came in as this really good, refined first-person shooter, which kind of paved the way for everything else.
Yeah, not just Halo. You also had series like Time Splitters, for example.
Well, yeah.
Again, another fantastic first-person shooter. Like previous generation, so on the Saturn, I had Duke Nukem, I had Quake. Brilliant ports, not nowhere near as good as the PC version.
Oh no, not at all.
But fantastic ports, and obviously you've got GoldenEye on the N64.
Yes.
For as great as that game was, it was only a foundation for what was to come. As much as I'd love it to be able to go back to it now, play it, enjoy it, I can't. It's
not aged.
Is that because of the controller or the game?
Mainly the controls just haven't aged as well.
Yeah, that and the. I know you disagree with this, but I also feel that designing a controller to be used with 3 hands is a terrible idea.
We always go over this. The controller, I have no issue with. It's how it's designed looks weird, but works well.
As long as you've got 3 hands.
No, you do not need free hand. Oddly enough, though, the semi-sequel to GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, you could actually use 2 N64 controllers and play it like a dual analog stick sort of game.
Well,
Yeah, that's a brilliant design for a controller where you need 2 of them to play a game. I mean,
No,
not
you don't need to.
but-
It's just an option.
See, I'm going to be controversial. I don't think, as much as I love the older generations and as much as I've got a lot of nostalgia for them and a lot of fond memories, I still don't think gaming has been in as good a place as it is now.
In terms of games or services?
Both?
So obviously services barely existed in the 90s.
Yes.
You know, you had the Sega channel, I think in the UK, I think that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The
I
Sega
actually,
channel,
I actually
and that
remember
was it.
somebody
Yeah.
having the Sega channel.
Yeah, my grandparents actually got it as part of their package, and I went round with my Mega Drive. I was like, "Oh, let's connect this up," and like, "Oh yeah, I got this weird Sega cartridge thing." I binned it though. It was like, "No, why did you bin it? Why did you bin it? It's the only reason I come to visit."
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying, Phil, especially because nowadays, as we touched on a bit earlier, is that retro is coming in quite a bit in a minute, and there's a lot more retro-inspired games, or there's a lot more remakes, especially as well.
It's not even just that. I mean, if you look at the scope of modern games, the scope of modern games is
I think there's a
massive.
bit too much of a selection sometimes.
I think the scope can get in the way a lot.
It can. It can, yeah.
So a lot of the games I've been enjoying on my Xbox recently is things like Sonic Mania, the Wonder Boy games. I've been playing a lot of Undermine, which I know both of you have played as well, as we discussed it
Yeah.
Yes.
our last podcast. The scope of them, it seems very focused and enjoyable. Sonic Mania, I hope next year for Sonic's 30th anniversary, they make another Sonic Mania style game. I'll be bitterly disappointed if they
See,
don't.
I've just finished Cyberpunk, and for all the flack that's been getting, I've enjoyed it.
That's why I was
finished
about
it?
to bring up playing through Cyberpunk, and while I've not come across anything that's game breaking, I've come across a lot of just lack of polish.
Oh, it
It's
definitely needs
too
polish.
ambitious for its own good. I'm not saying lack of polish in that it looks bad in screenshots or still images or in small sections. It looks absolutely amazing, but once you've been playing it for half an hour, you see things you can't unsee. Let's just say.
Somebody putting a gun literally through their head.
Well, I've seen worse.
Well, yeah, you have.
Like with touching with Cyberpunk, like you're saying, where, yes, there's issues with it. That's the thing. We've also had some games that have just been absolute flops. Anthem, for one thing, I was massively looking forward to that, just to run around in this mech suit.
Yeah, so will we.
And it was like, my favorite superhero is Iron Man. So I was like, yeah, I can run around and feel like Iron Man. And there was just nothing to after you got so far.
We're saying about these flops in our advancing ages, to say, where, we see these games come out and they don't live up to the expectations, but there's always been flops. There's always been disasters of games. There's always been games like The Immortal.
Well, no, that's just a bad game. Whereas Cyberpunk is a good game, just hampered by being too ambitious, I think.
Yeah, and then Anthem is a good game. It just wasn't anything left at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had stuff like
We've all played Streets of Rage 4, and I think we all played River City Girls.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Played Scott Pilgrim, which hopefully will be coming back this month.
With multiplayer?
With multiplayer, yeah, and you won't have to pay for it this time. They are very concise games, and I don't think any of us would say they are bad games or suffer from the amount of ambition that was put behind them.
No.
I can't disagree with that. Now.
Whereas, even going back to Halo, I'm a big fan of Halo. We all are. That E3 showing of it was rather lackluster. Thankfully, they've delayed it, but then again, they delayed Cyberpunk repeatedly.
They also delayed Halo 2.
Well, Halo 2 was just when it was done.
Eventually, yeah.
I don't think it was so much delayed. It was just stop asking us. It's done when it's done. Well, even then, Halo 2 was a game that was hampered by its own ambition. Again, if you go back to some of the older E3 footage, there's one where it shows Master Chief fighting through a city, showing off all these new effects and the scope of the game. The
It
game
wasn't in the game.
never lived up to that in the end.
It's almost
And
like the developer has a history of
infamously,
doing it.
it just ended. It
Yeah.
just, oh, we're going back to Earth, come on. And it's like, Chief, what are you doing? I'm finishing this fight. Credits. And you're like, no, it's a joke. There must be another level. No, there wasn't. And not only that, the next game was years away and wasn't even on the same system.
It's true.
No.
But there was also Destiny. If you can see it, you can get there.
Yeah. Again, that was... Again, that's another game. Just same issues. As I say, if you can see it in the distance, you could get to it. No, you couldn't. It was an extremely linear game. I don't think it was any more open world than, say, the original Halo.
God, no. See, that's... But this is the thing. Games nowadays are a lot bigger than they have ever been. And they're a lot more complex, a lot more money goes into them, a lot more development goes into them.
I think there is more call for open world games. It seems to be.
Yeah.
It seems to be that there's more freedom.
There's too much formula.
When Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and it was, open world, you got to go around Liberty City, and it was, 3D, it went top down. That was really impressive. I feel like games nowadays, open world is just a tick box for them.
Yeah.
It's like, can we fit it in?
A game I do like, Burnout Paradise. It's an open world game.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be an open world game. There is nothing wrong with Burnout 3, Burnout Takedown, selecting a track from a menu and just playing that track. It doesn't have to be open world exploration to find these races. It's same with Forza. Forza Motorsport works perfectly well with menus. Forza Horizon, they have built the game around the fact that it's open world. It doesn't feel like it's just something that's been shoehorned into it for a marketing reason.
It's like if you want to do the race, you have to drive here.
You have like open world races, you've got the driver tars, you've got all the little bits and bobs that make it a bit more alive.
Or you can just smash up Edinburgh, if you really want to. Although in all fairness, you'd never notice.
Or turn Edinburgh into Lego blocks.
Oh yeah.
Though I still, you know what? As good as the Lego expansion is, I still think the Hot Wheels expansion is the best Forza experience there's been. That was just genius.
Especially when those boost pads launch you off the track. Oh yeah, that's always fun.
Or when your teammates ram you into the wall so hard that you get stuck, but you're not quite flipped, so you don't get reset. So from first, you go into last and do not finish because you cannot reset your position.
But I finished in first, and that's all that matters.
Teammates.
But then again,
I think.
Do you think you had more fun playing, maybe not that particular race, but playing Forza as opposed to when we play Micro Machines? How hard were we laughing playing Micro Machines? Again, the scale of the game is so much smaller.
Same.
What, like when you went forwards and backwards on that flipping bridge?
See, this is what I mean. I don't think I get as much nostalgia as you two.
Or going back, when we were playing Extreme Violence, literally they could not make the game any more basic. If they did, it'd be Pong.
A fun game is a fun game, but I have as much fun with that as I have with something like Cyberpunk. The giggles that we've had with something like Totally Reliable Delivery Service, the giggles that we've had on Halo.
It depends who you play with, I think.
It does, yeah.
As much as you enjoy a game, quite often the people you're playing with makes the game for you, regardless if it's an older game or a newer game or whatever it is.
Violence is boring on your own.
Well, you can't even play it on your own.
My thing with open world games, I love open world games. I'm all set for them. I think sometimes there's too much to do and you get lost in doing other things, or I get sidetracked way too much.
Do you think that we should agree then, and perhaps that the magic that's been lost, it maybe is the massive scope of games nowadays. It always needs to be bigger, it needs to look better than previous games. But do you think the magic that's been lost is the loss of local co-op or even local competitive gaming. Because a lot of the games that
Yes.
we've discussed,
I
the way
think-
we've said that we've played and we're having a really good laugh at, the games where we've physically been together, playing them like Micro Machines, like Extreme Violence, when we were playing Battletoads. You know, we didn't even complete the game. And again, I don't know about you two, but I wanted to put my controller through that screen a few times. But we were laughing at, we were laughing along with wanting to cause serious harm to each other and the
Yes.
TV.
do think a lot of it comes down to who you're playing with.
But do you think even when we play online, I don't think we get that same experience. Things aren't as funny.
No,
Yeah. No.
it's not the
Except on
same.
Minecraft when you kick Anthony down a hole, shouting, "This is Sparta."
Down the
After he
whole
spent like 2 minutes climbing to the
I
top.
got all the way to the top. I got seriously. He made like a 10x10, maybe a bit bigger, sort of square, and I had to climb around all the way to the top. As I got to the top, Barry was there, and I hadn't realised, and he just goes, "This is Sparta." Poof, and
Yeah,
I
just like a general.
died.
It was
But
basically the equivalent of playing Worms and using the prod to kill the last worm. It was just like a little whoop, and off he goes.
Yep.
I was,
But it was
I
so
was
high, and he hit it
impressed
so
slash
hard, his
so
items
amused on
bounced
what was happening.
all over the place. But then again, he
Seriously,
previously
I
did
could not find a
did
wall.
laugh at me when he went, "Oh yeah, there's a block of water down here." And like, sorry, there's water at the bottom of this chasm. So I jumped in and managed to hit the only block that wasn't water. And again, died, bounced my items, never found them again. And he said, Anthony spent about an hour laughing at that. He just didn't stop.
Your,
I
lack
did
of
say though
aim.
that my particular choice of favorite generation would be controversial.
Oh, sorry, what was
Yeah.
your generation? I
They're
can't
like-
remember.
His of this
Current
generation.
The current one? So the PlayStation 5 and Series, Xbox Series.
Yeah,
Why? What game's on them?
because it's
Exactly,
there's no game
that's
on
my
it, to be fair.
argument.
But it's the whole package. No, it's the whole package of because you've got decent backwards compatibility now with both consoles. Thankfully, you've got the services that behind it all. Games have never been more accessible. They've never been bigger. I like that.
See,
Yeah.
I also like the constraints that were on developers made them be a lot more creative. I feel now
Yeah.
You're
that
not wrong.
a lot of developers just think, they've got all this power behind them, behind these consoles and modern PCs.
But what I'm saying is, my enjoyment of the current generations doesn't take away from the enjoyment I've had over all the previous generations. It doesn't take away from how good a game and how much I enjoyed Cyborg Justice.
I don't feel like the current / previous generation, like the Xbox One and the Series X, have much to offer that wasn't there for the Xbox 360. I do feel like change has slowed down massively
Oh, yeah.
since like the
It has.
mid 2000s.
You've
It
got to think
definitely
of
has.
how much more change can they put into it. How much more can they add? Like, what can we add?
Well, exactly. Going from like the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive to the PlayStation, Saturn, Nintendo 64, the change was massive. Now, don't get me wrong, some companies got it spot on. Nintendo, taking Mario from 2D to 3D, they got it spot on from day one. A lot of companies, Bubsy, didn't.
Yeah. Bubsy,
Well, in all
let's-
fairness,
yeah.
Bubsy wasn't that great in 2D anyway, so.
I enjoyed Bubsy more.
Really? See,
Yeah.
the issue I have with Bubsy is they tried to emulate the speed of Sonic, which, don't get me wrong, it's a really fast game. There's a lot of blind jumps, and one hit and you are dead. At least Sonic, you got hit, you lose your rings, and then you have the chance to scramble for a couple of more rings. Bubsy, it's not so much that it's hard because it's a difficult game, which I have no issue with. It's hard because it seems to be a very poorly planned out game.
There is a level of that, yeah. That is for sure.
So when we come to our favourite generation of consoles, we can say that we were all very different in our opinions and very opinionated.
That's the thing with opinions, isn't it? We all have our own.
Yeah.
Except Phil's wrong.
Well, now you've had the time to listen to us three ramble and hopefully get to know us a little bit better. We hope we haven't put you off too much and you'll listen to us next time. So, good night, you two.
And hopefully next time we'll actually have something of substance to talk about.
Doubt it.
Thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll see you soon.